So when it comes to learning to fly a paramotor, I think one of the hardest parts of the whole process is learning the launch. In this video, I want to talk about the launch, give you some tips on how to make your launches perfect, and I want to talk about some common errors that happen in launching paramotors. This video is geared towards people who are already pilots and could maybe improve their skills, or for the entertainment purposes of you fine folks at home. This video is not geared to people that want to learn how to fly off of a YouTube video. To learn how to launch a paramotor properly, do not learn from YouTube, learn from a certified, trustworthy instructor. If you are interested in learning how to fly, I highly recommend Aviator Paramotor. They're the guys that I learned how to fly with back about 7 years ago. They've got some top-notch training down in Lake Wales, Florida, as well as Denellen, Florida. Check them out. They're linked down in the description if you want to get into it the right way. So launching a paramotor, there's two different types of launches that we typically do, the forward and reverse launch. In each of these launches, there's 3 different stages: the inflation, the taxi, and the liftoff. So let's start with the forward launch. The forward is typically used when the winds are light. I would say below 6 miles per hour. In a forward launch, we face away from the wing's back behind us, and we face into the wind. We always want to take off directly into the wind. So before we even start the first stage of inflation, we have to start with a good wing layout. Now, this is a subject I could make a whole different video about, but quick and dirty, if there's 0 wind, we're gonna be laying out the wing 100% by hand, stretching the fabric, checking the lines. If there is a little bit of a breeze, we can bump up the wing into the wind, visually check everything, and set it back down perfectly into the wind, perfectly stretched out and not tangled. So once we've got our glider laid out perfectly, we can clip in. Now let's talk a little bit about the controls. This is where it gets a little challenging. In one hand, we're gonna have a throttle. Then in both hands, we have our A's, which are the lines that connect to the leading edge of the wing and help us inflate the glider. Then also, in both hands, we have a brake toggle. These connect to the trailing edge of the wing. They allow us to control the wing and produce lift by pulling both of them. So once we've got all of our controls sorted out, we're calm, we're relaxed, we're ready to go, the wing's set up perfectly, we're gonna start running forward directly into the wind and directly perpendicular to the wing. What I like to say is lead with your chest and follow through with pressure on your A's. You don't want your arms out here, that kind of posture on your launch. You want to be more like an arrow, streamlined, chest forward, running with your arms back like this. Now, as you apply pressure to the A's, the wing's gonna start coming up, and you follow the risers as they come up above you. As the wing comes up above, at some point you're gonna slip off of the A's and get onto your brakes with just light pressure so that you can start controlling the wing. At this point, the inflation is over, the wing is above your head. It's important to keep moving forward. In a forward launch, we normally don't have too much wind, so we have to create the wind by moving forward. Now, in moving forward, we move on to the next stage of the taxi. So for the taxi, you're gonna wanna add just a little bit of power, just enough to keep pushing you forward so you don't have to do all the work with your legs. This stage is super important and should never be rushed. The whole goal of the taxi is to make sure that the wing is stable before we commit to the actual liftoff. In being stable, we wanna make sure it's not left, right, or forward or aft. Now at this point, I like to check my wingtips. I find it much more easy to look up and to the side and use your peripheral to see the tip and tip, while your other peripheral still has a good horizon so you can balance. Some people look straight up, but I don't recommend that, because when you look straight up, you lose reference of what's around you, and it just doesn't work as well. What you're looking for is if your wing is off center, let's say to the left, you're gonna change your course and start running left to get under the wing, and you're gonna add a little right brake pressure. What you also wanna look for is if that wing is doing any surging movements, and you wanna dampen those surges. So once we've got that dialed, it comes to the liftoff, the final phase of the launch. Now we're gonna go from that little bit of throttle to roll smoothly on to full power. At the same time as you're doing that, you're gonna wanna start to lean back. You're gonna push your hips forward and change your thrust line. This part is super important. As we start to increase speed, we're leaning back. We still want to keep good control of that wing. Now, once we've accelerated, we're at takeoff power, 3/4 to full power. We're ready to lift off. We want to add a touch of brake pressure. What the brake pressure does is it momentarily increases your lift and lets you take off at a slower speed and pulls you off the ground nice and smooth. Now we're off the ground. We want to continue our climb, so we're going to keep power in, and we're going to smoothly start letting out of that brake pressure. That gets our wing accelerated back up to full speed, and we're going to continue climbing. And once we get to a safe altitude, we're going to get in our harness, whether that means just kind of wiggling in or stowing a brake, reaching down and scooping ourselves in. We get into the harness, and that's basically the final stage of our launch. All right, let's talk about some common errors for the forward launch. A big one is not running hard enough for the inflation. If we're in a zero wind situation, depending on the wing, depending on the pilot, especially for small lightweight pilots, you have to sometimes hit that wing hard to get it through the inflation. If you don't hit it hard enough, it'll have a tendency to kind of get mushy, slow down, and fall off to the side. Another common one is not setting up directly into the wind. If the wind is really variable, it can kind of catch you off guard. And if you inflate your wing with a crosswind, it's likely going to turn into the wind, and then that can complicate things. Another common error is rushing. If you don't have the skills, or maybe you're more used to doing reverse launches with a lot of wind, people tend to rush through the taxi phase. And what'll happen is the wing will be oscillating or it'll be pitching, and then you get ripped off to one side. It's never a good thing. Now, a really super common problem is not leaning back far enough. Like I said, you want to direct that thrust line straight forward, not at the ground. If you continue leaning forward like your initial inflation and you add power, it's just drilling you into the ground, and it makes it really difficult to run, and it extends your launch distance dramatically. Another super common one is not enough brake pressure when you're ready for that lift off. A lot of people just run hands up, and if you don't take advantage of that little extra lift, you're gonna run really fast and really far. The final common error is sitting too early. So you're taxiing, you look good, you've added your power, you're up to full, you're ready for lift off, and the wing pulls a little bit, you feel tension through the harness, and a lot of people think they're already flying, but it's not quite ready yet, and they jump into the seat or scoop their legs. A lot of times they'll come back down, hit the cage, and stay on the ground. So that's the forward launch. Before we get to the reverse launch, if you guys enjoy my videos, you want to support the channel, drop a like down below, and another way to support it is check out our sweet Risky Biscuits Co merch, like this blueprint t-shirt I'm wearing right now, or this leather patch hat. Link is in the description. We also sell wings, so if you want to get an ozone product, hit me up, info@tuckergott.com. So a reverse launch. We use this when the winds are a bit stronger, typically 6 miles per hour and above. And in this case, we're starting facing the wing like a kite, and our lines are crossed. Now this presents kind of a different challenge. Throughout a forward launch, if you pull right, the wing goes right. But in a reverse, with your lines crossed, if you pull your right hand, the wing actually goes left. But one of the big advantages of this type of launch or reverse launch is that with the wind, everything can be much slower. So we've got the 3 same stages, the inflation, the taxi, and the liftoff, except in this case, the taxi is kind of cut in half by the point that we turn around. So once again, inflation starts with a proper wing layout. In this case, we've got enough wind, so it's a lot easier. We can bump our wing up, check the lines, make sure everything looks perfect, and set it down exactly into the wind, exactly stretched out to full inflation already. Now we clip in. We take our risers and flip them upside down and clip in, creating a cross in the lines. Controls, we've got the same setup. However, this time, throttle, brakes are the same, but the A's we actually normally grab with one hand. That keeps our other hand available in case the wing goes off in one direction. We can correct it with that one hand. You can use this strategically if you know the wing might come up one way. Switch which hand pulls the A's. Same concept though, we're gonna move backwards to create tension on the lines, follow with pressure on the A's. As the wing comes up, drop the A's and apply pressure with our brakes. Now, depending on how much wind you have for your reverse launch, the wing might rocket up and you have to check it really hard with the brakes to keep it from overflying. Other times you might have to continuously walk backwards a little bit to keep enough wind under the wing. Another big advantage of a reverse launch is, in this case, we can see the wing inflating. When we do our forward, we're focused on running forward and the wing's behind us, so we don't have as good of an idea of what's happening. Reverse, you see that wing come up and you can immediately start making adjustments. Now begins the taxi phase. Now this phase, we can take all day if we want. You're just gonna sit there and kite your wing. there's no need to rush it. Once we're happy and the wing's stable, it's not pitching, it's not left or right, we can go ahead and turn around. Now, still no need to rush. Let's just taxi the wing. Take a second, still maintain, make sure that your wing is stable once you've turned forward. Look up, check your wingtips, and once we're now sure that everything's stable, we can commit to the liftoff. Once again, we're gonna smoothly apply power and simultaneously induce our lean back angle. You're gonna control the wing as you start moving forward, and when you feel that you've got enough speed, you're getting a little light, add a little light brake pressure. Now, the advantage of a reverse launch is typically we take off at a much slower speed and there's a lot less running involved. Same sort of thing here. After liftoff, you're gonna maintain your climb by adding power and holding it there. You're gonna slowly release your brake pressure so that you accelerate back up to full flight. And once you're at a safe altitude, you can stow brake toggle, scoop yourself into the seat or whatever you gotta do. So some common errors with the reverse launch. A big one is just not being proficient at reverse kiting. It's kind of funny, sometimes you can take a guy that only ever flies inland and only ever does forward launches, take him out to the beach where he has to do a reverse launch, and sometimes you see that those skills aren't up to par. Another common error is inducing some sort of movement in the wing when you're switching from reverse to forward. A lot of times, like, you turn and you just accidentally punch one toggle and your wing will go off center in that moment you're switching. It's important in that moment that the wing's super stable, and as you turn, you keep your hands at the exact same position. Some of the same errors in the forward launch still apply to the reverse, like not leaning back far enough, not adding enough brake pressure, and jumping into the seat. These are a little more mild, typically because we have more wind and it's easier, but you should still definitely pay attention to these. So that's all I got for today. That's my quick and dirty how to launch a paramotor. Let me know if you like videos like this, kind of tutorial, but don't use it as a training regimen videos. Maybe I can do one on landing or laying out your glider. I appreciate you guys watching till now. Definitely, if you're interested in training, check out Aviator, link down below, and check out the merch, link down below. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Till then, peace.